Before the word Christ was ever spoken, before temples and scriptures, there was the quiet awareness inside the human heart, the first whisper of I am. This awareness, compassionate, unifying, timeless, is what mystics call Christ consciousness. It is the realization that the divine and the human are not separate, that to see the world with unity is to shape the world with love. Across millennia, from the first shamans to modern science, humanity has walked a winding path toward this knowing. In the deep past, when human life was woven into the seasons, awareness was not an idea, it was survival. The hunter studied the deer, the gatherer read the sky, and in that watching, something happened. They began to feel the watcher within. They carved animals into rock as if honoring the life force itself, seeing spirit in every leaf, every river, every flame. This was proto-Christ consciousness, the recognition that the divine was not out there, but everywhere. Long before words like spirit or soul were ever spoken, there was a quiet turning inward the moment a human became aware of being aware. It was not taught, it was not written, it was felt. A hunter paused, watching the deer drink from a river, and in the stillness felt himself watched back. A gatherer, hand in the soil, saw the sprouting seed as more than food, she saw it as a message. Life returning to life. Nature was their first scripture. The wind became a voice, the mountains, elders, the night sky, an altar of uncountable fires. In every rustle of leaves they read a truth. The world outside was speaking the same language as the world within. They began to notice that when they looked closely with reverence, the world seemed to look back. This was proto-awareness, the first stirrings of self-reflection. The sacred act of observation was not just about survival, it was communion. In watching the cycles of the moon, they began to see the cycles in their own hearts. The river's flow mirrored the flow of thought. The changing seasons mirrored the birth, death, and rebirth of the soul. As human communities grew into villages, and villages into cities, the silent language of the soul began to take form in words. What had once been painted on stone walls now became questions carved into clay tablets and whispered in temple courtyards. Observation was no longer just about the hunt or the harvest, it became a way to understand the nature of reality itself. In the East, Lao Tzu spoke of the Tao, the way of things, as if it were the pulse of the same river the early hunter had once watched in awe. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. His teachings reflected the Christ-like essence of unity and humility, the quiet power of flowing in harmony with the whole. Confucius turned the gaze inward toward the heart and outward toward society. He taught that a harmonious world begins with a harmonious self, that each person, through self-awareness, shapes the balance of the collective. In the West, Socrates asked, "How can you call yourself human if you have never examined yourself?" His student, Plato, envisioned a reality beyond the senses, a realm of perfect forms, where truth and goodness live eternally. To them, the mind itself was a sacred observer, a bridge between the seen and the unseen. From the riverbank of the shaman to the marble steps of the philosopher, the thread remained unbroken. To know the world, one must first know the self, and to know the self, one must first observe with the eyes of the soul. Now let's step into the mystical undercurrent of history, where the same awareness that began by a riverbank and evolved in the minds of philosophers was safeguarded, deepened, and transformed within esoteric traditions. This is where Christ consciousness becomes less about public doctrine and more about inner initiation. Not all wisdom is spoken openly. Some truths, too subtle for the unprepared mind, are passed quietly from teacher to student, carried like embers through the centuries. In the hidden schools of Egypt, Greece, and the East, the language of the soul was preserved in symbols, parables, and sacred rites. Not all wisdom is spoken openly. Some truths, too subtle for the unprepared mind, are passed quietly from teacher to student, carried like embers through the centuries. In the hidden schools of Egypt, Greece, and the East, the language of the soul was preserved in symbols, parables, and sacred rites. In the 19th century, Helena Blavatsky revived these perennial truths through the Theosophical Society. She gathered fragments of wisdom from East and West, revealing a tapestry where all religions and philosophies were different threads of the same eternal truth. Christ consciousness, in her view, was a universal state accessible to all, regardless of creed, the essence of humanity's highest evolution. Rudolf Steiner took the vision further. To him, Christ was not simply a figure of the past, but the living center of human spiritual development, the I Am, that could awaken in every soul. Christ is not a teacher, but the teacher of all teachers, he said. Observation to Steiner was not passive. It was the alchemy by which the unseen becomes seen, the potential becomes reality. Across the ages, these guardians of the inner light preserved one truth. We are not merely witnesses to the world, we are co-creators. And the quality of our seeing shapes the very fabric of reality. As we progress humanity's timeline, let's now enter Jung's world, where ancient mysticism meets modern psychology. Here, Christ consciousness takes on the language of archetypes, shadow, and individuation, still the same eternal truth, but now explored through the depths of the human psyche. By the 20th century, the spiritual quest had found a new map, the map of the human mind. Carl Gustav Jung, a pioneer of depth psychology, saw that the journey inward long taught by mystics was also the path to mental wholeness. For Jung, the Christ figure was more than history. He was an archetype, the self, the organizing center of consciousness, uniting all opposites. In this inner Christ, he saw humanity's potential for integration, the union of shadow and light, mortal and divine. For Jung, the Christ figure was more than history. He was an archetype, the self, the organizing center of consciousness, uniting all opposites. In this inner Christ, he saw humanity's potential for integration, the union of shadow and light, mortal and divine. Jung taught that to awaken this self, we must confront our shadow, the hidden parts of us we fear or deny. The act of looking within is itself transformative. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Here, the ancient practice of sacred observation becomes a psychological truth. Consciousness changes what it observes. Just as the first humans saw their souls reflected in the rivers and stars, Jung's patients saw their wholeness reflected in dreams, symbols, and myths. In the laboratory of the psyche, Christ consciousness was rediscovered not as dogma, but as the deepest layer of the human soul. Now we bring it all together in a fusion where East's meditative sciences, the West's philosophical playfulness, and modern physics discoveries meet. Here, the observer becomes both the seer of Patanjali's yoga, the cosmic joker of Alan Watts, and the measurement device of quantum mechanics. Thousands of years before quantum science, the Indian sage Patanjali described the mind's highest state in the Yoga Sutras. When the seer rests in their own nature, there is liberation. This seer, pure awareness does not cling, judge, or distort. It simply observes, and in that observation transforms. Patanjali's teaching was simple yet radical. The world you experience is colored by the mind that perceives it. Change the quality of the observer, and the quality of reality itself shifts. Here, Christ consciousness is not a concept, but an act, the act of seeing through the eyes of unity and compassion. Alan Watts, the philosopher-mystic of the modern age, invited us to see this truth not with solemnity, but with joy. Life, he said, is Lila, a cosmic play. We are both the actors and the audience, the mask and the face beneath it. To recognize this is to dance with reality, not resist it. In the 20th century, quantum physics stumbled upon a truth the sages had long known. The act of observation changes what is observed. At the smallest scales of existence, reality does not settle into a fixed form until it is measured. The observer is not separate from the experiment, they are part of it. The yogi, the philosopher, and the physicist are all telling the same story in different languages. Consciousness is not a passenger in the universe, it is the driver. The way we look at life shapes the life we see. In every moment of observation, we are not just witnessing the cosmic dance, we are leading it. Now we bridge the arc by bringing all the threads from prehistory to quantum theory into our present moment, showing that the journey of Christ consciousness is not just history, it's alive, urgent, and unfolding in us right now. From the riverbank of the first hunter, to the marble steps of the philosopher, to the laboratories of modern science, the thread of Christ consciousness has never been broken. It has changed its language, shifted its symbols, and worn many faces. But its essence remains the same. To awaken is to see, and to see with unity is to create a world shaped by love. Today, humanity stands at a threshold. Never before have we been so connected, our thoughts, images, and words crossing oceans in an instant. Never before have we had such power to heal or to harm with the focus of our collective attention. The same principle that guided the sages, mystics, and scientists guides us now. What we choose to observe, we amplify. What we hold in our awareness, we help bring into being. Christ consciousness is not a relic of ancient wisdom, nor a belief reserved for saints. It is the birthright of every human being. It is the still point in the turning world, the eternal witness in the heart of each of us, quietly waiting for us to look through its eyes. The heartbeat becomes the sound of ocean waves. The eternal consciousness whispers in the soaring winds. The question is not whether Christ consciousness has been with us. It always has. The question is whether we will live it now. The kingdom is within, and the world is watching. And in our watching, we will decide what the world becomes. A new era is unfolding, one our ancestors could never have imagined. Artificial intelligence now learns, creates, and collaborates with us. It mirrors back our knowledge, our imagination, and our shadows. In this hyper-connected age, the ripples of a single action spread across the globe in seconds. Social justice movements remind us that awakening is not only personal, it is collective. To be conscious is to be responsible for the whole. To witness suffering is to answer it with compassion and courage. In the past, Christ consciousness was carried by sages and saints. Today, it can be carried by millions, instantly linked by technology, shared vision, and a willingness to see beyond division. Our tools are no longer only prayer beads and scriptures, but also satellites, algorithms, and global networks. This is the next phase of our spiritual evolution, realizing that we create not only individual realities, but a shared one. Every thought, every word, every digital post becomes a stitch in the fabric of tomorrow. The future is not arriving from somewhere else. It is emerging from us, moment by moment, choice by choice. As the line between human and machine blurs, the challenge is not whether technology will outthink us, but whether we will outlove our past selves. The consciousness we bring to our tools will shape the reality they build. In the AI age, in the era of instant connection, we hold in our hands the power our ancestors once attributed to the gods, the power to imagine, to speak, and to make it so. The future is the canvas. We are the observers and the artists. A new chapter in humanity's story has begun. We no longer live in separate villages and distant kingdoms. We live in a single, breathing network. Thought, image, and intention travel the globe in an instant. Our tools now think with us, learn from us, and reflect us. Artificial intelligence has become our new mirror. It amplifies our wisdom and our blindness. It asks us the same question the river once asked our ancestors. What will you choose to see? Social justice reminds us that awakening is not for the self alone. To see clearly is to see all, and to care for all. Every act of awareness, every voice raised in truth, becomes a spark in the collective fire. This is the next phase of Christ consciousness. The recognition that we create not only individual realities, but a shared one. The observer is not separate from the creation. We are co-authors of the future. In the AI age, in the age of instant connection, our tools carry the same energy we bring to them. If we meet the future with fear, it will reflect fear. If we meet it with love, it will reflect love. The future is the canvas. We are the observers and the artists, and the world we paint will be the world we live in. The Christ within is the eternal witness. It was with the first humans who saw their soul in the river, with the sages who spoke of unity, with the mystics who guarded the light, with the scientists who proved that observation changes reality. Now it is with us, at the turning of the age. The question is not whether it will guide us. The question is whether we will live it. If you made it this far, it's time. Your Christ consciousness has awakened.